The night was quiet, almost eerily still, as Cristiano Ronaldo sat alone in the dim light of his room, the weight of his thoughts pressing heavily on his shoulders. Memories flooded him like a relentless tide, each one sharper than the last. There was Irina, with her poised elegance and magnetic charm, someone who had waited for him, patient, persistent, almost hauntingly so. She had been there in moments when the world around him felt uncertain, offering a form of love that seemed constant, a steady flame in the whirlwind of fame and expectation. Yet, as he remembered her, he couldn't escape the truth he had come to realize. Irina, for all her allure, was not the partner he sought, not the one whose heart would beat in rhythm with his own. Her love, though passionate in appearance, held a hidden core of self-interest. She loved herself first, more than she ever loved anyone else, including him. It was not a hatred, but an honesty that was impossible to ignore. She was a reflection of desire and ambition, enamored with the lights, the money, the fame. And in that reflection, Ronaldo could see a life that was not truly his, a connection that was not built on the quiet, enduring trust that he craved. Then there was Georgina, and suddenly the contrast was stark, almost painfully so. Georgina did not wait in shadows. She did not chase for the sake of attention. She simply existed with authenticity, with a gentle warmth that filled the spaces around her. She loved not for glory, not for spectacle, not for the applause of the world, but for him, for his child, for the fragile, precious intimacy of family. There was a rare purity in her affection, a joy that thrived in the happiness of those she loved. Her heart had room not for herself alone but for others, for the moments that mattered beyond public appearances, beyond the transient glitter of wealth and acclaim. And in that realization, Ronaldo felt a clarity he had never experienced before, the kind that cuts sharply through confusion and doubt. Georgina was his heart's answer, the one who mirrored his own desire to protect, to nurture, to belong. But decisions were never simple, and love never comes without trials. There had been a time, a crossroad in his life, when the paths before him diverged, demanding choice. Irina had returned to him then, with that same unwavering patience, offering the continuation of what could have been, a road familiar yet flawed. Georgina, however, had emerged in a quiet, unassuming way, offering a possibility that felt different, a promise that resonated with a depth beyond what appearances could show. Ronaldo had stood there, torn, the weight of expectation pressing on him from every side. It was not merely a choice between two women. It was a choice between worlds, between realities, between the kind of life he wanted to build not just for himself, but for the family he envisioned. In the stillness of that moment, he examined his heart with brutal honesty. Irina's love, dazzling and magnetic, had a glimmer that could entice anyone, yet it was rooted in a reflection of herself, in the admiration of what she could gain, not in the quiet understanding of who he truly was. Georgina's love, by contrast, was quiet yet unwavering, steady yet vibrant, a force that nurtured and uplifted. Her joy came from their collective happiness, her spirit enriched by the laughter of his child, the warmth of family moments that seemed small yet infinite in significance. It was a love that asked not for grandeur but for authenticity, not for spectacle but for presence. And in that understanding, Ronaldo knew that the answer lay not in beauty, nor in charm, nor in fleeting passion, but in the unspoken, unshakable bond that grows from shared life, from shared purpose, from genuine, selfless care. And so, in a decision that would shape the course of his personal life forever, he chose her. Georgina became the embodiment of the home he had longed for, the partner who could walk beside him not for the sake of fame or fortune, but for the sacred, invisible threads that held a family together. Irina, though remarkable in her own way, became a memory of lessons learned, a reflection of desires that would not fit into the life he wanted to create. Ronaldo realized then, with a serenity that only comes from truth, that love is not about appearances, not about waiting, not about who chases whom or who dazzles the world. It is about heart, about presence, about the courage to choose not what is easy or alluring, but what is right, what sustains, what builds something beyond the self. In the quiet aftermath of that choice, Ronaldo felt the profound peace that comes from aligning action with heart. He knew the world would speak, would judge, would speculate, but in the echo of his own soul, he heard the certainty he had long sought. Georgina was more than a partner. She was the anchor in the storm, the joy in ordinary days, the love that was steady when everything else swirled with chaos. And in that love, he discovered the simple, humbling truth. The greatest triumph in life is not in accolades, trophies, or wealth, but in finding someone whose heart resonates with yours, someone whose presence transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, someone who, in loving fully, teaches you how to love yourself and those you cherish in return. After the decision, life did not suddenly become easy. Choosing Georgina over Irina was only the beginning of a journey that would test not just Ronaldo's heart, but his understanding of love, trust, and commitment. The world around him buzzed with curiosity and speculation, but he had learned long ago that fame brings noise, endless opinions, and judgments that rarely touch the truth of a person's heart. And yet, despite the chaos that followed him everywhere, there were quiet moments that revealed the stark contrast between the two loves he had experienced, moments that would forever cement why he had made the choice he did. Ronaldo remembered the first time he truly saw Georgina beyond the surface, beyond the smiles captured by cameras, beyond the words of adoration whispered by admirers. It was a simple evening, almost unremarkable, but it carried a weight that was impossible to ignore. She laughed with his child, her eyes sparkling not from ambition or desire for attention, but from genuine delight. She asked questions that mattered, listened with care, and when she spoke of dreams, they were not of grandeur or fame, but of ordinary joys. Meals shared, walks in the park, bedtime stories, moments that felt fleeting yet eternal in their intimacy. Ronaldo watched quietly, almost in awe, as he realized that here was someone who loved not for recognition, not for the world's applause, but for the soul-deep satisfaction of making others happy, of being present in ways that truly mattered. In contrast, memories of Irina returned like a storm, intense and disorienting. Irina's charm had been undeniable, her elegance captivating. Yet beneath the surface, there had always been a restlessness, a hunger for admiration that overshadowed the tenderness he craved. She had offered love, yes, but it was love in fragments, carefully curated and measured, beautiful in moments but fleeting in essence. She had waited for him, true, but her patience carried an undertone of expectation, a subtle demand for the life he could provide, rather than the man he truly was. Ronaldo recognized then that waiting alone does not equate to understanding, does not equate to love that can sustain when the world grows heavy and the challenges of life demand more than charm and attraction. They demand empathy, resilience, and a willingness to put someone else first as days turned into weeks. Ronaldo found himself reflecting constantly on the quiet lessons Georgina offered without even trying. She showed strength not in words, but in actions. She celebrated victories not for the glory they brought to her, but for the joy they brought to him and their family. She comforted in moments of doubt without judgment, held patience when emotions ran high, and, perhaps most importantly, she gave love freely, without the silent calculations that had once left him uncertain. With Georgina, there was no pretense, no masks, no hidden motives, only the clarity of a heart open and willing to share its fullness. And yet, temptation and doubt are never easily silenced. There were moments when Ronaldo questioned, when the past whispered, when Irina's presence, fleeting or imagined, tugged at the edges of memory. It would have been easier, in some ways, to return to a love that was familiar, even if flawed, to choose the dazzling allure of someone who had once waited, who had once captivated him so completely. But every time the thought surfaced, he felt a quiet resistance, a reminder that beauty without depth is hollow, that patience without understanding is empty, and that the life he sought was never in glittering facades but in the substance of shared hearts. Georgina, unaware of the silent struggles he fought within himself, continued to live and love in ways that were transformative, not just for Ronaldo, but for the small family they were beginning to build together. Her presence became a grounding force, a reminder that love is not measured in grand gestures alone, but in the steady constancy of care, in the joy found in ordinary moments, in the quiet strength of someone who chooses you every day without hesitation. With every passing day, Ronaldo felt the invisible threads of connection tighten, weaving a bond that could not be undone by fame, temptation, or circumstance. The turning point came subtly, without fanfare, in a moment that would remain etched in his memory forever. They were alone, away from cameras, away from the eyes of the world, sharing a simple evening at home. His child laughed, a pure sound that filled the room with warmth, and Georgina's smile was not staged, not performative, not meant for anyone but them. In that instant, Ronaldo understood the depth of the choice he had made, the truth of the love that had drawn him to Georgina, and the folly of ever doubting his heart. Here was a love that sustained, a love that inspired, a love that transformed. Here was the family he had longed for, the peace he had sought amidst the chaos of fame, the quiet joy that no spotlight could ever replicate. And in that soft, unassuming moment, Ronaldo made a silent vow, not of grandeur, not of spectacle, but of fidelity to the heart, to the family, to the rare, luminous connection he had found in Georgina. Irina had been a chapter, a lesson, a reflection of desires that were incomplete and unsustainable. Georgina was the life he chose, the love he nurtured, the partner whose heart beat in rhythm with his own. And in choosing her, he had discovered a truth that resonates with anyone who dares to look beyond the surface. In love, the heart always knows, and in choosing wisely, one discovers not just happiness, but the profound, enduring power of love that transforms everything it touches. There was a moment, fleeting yet eternal, when Ronaldo stood at the edge of a decision that would define not just his present, but the very contours of his future. It was the kind of moment that no trophy, no accolade, no roar of a stadium could ever replicate. A silence so heavy it pressed into his chest, demanding clarity. Irina had returned, radiant and patient, waiting as she had always done. She spoke softly, her words coated in charm, hinting at a possibility that could have been, at a life that was familiar and alluring. Every instinct within him recognized the pull, the temptation to return to a path that was safe, even if it lacked the depth he now craved. Yet, even as the world seemed to hold its breath, Ronaldo's mind could not ignore the subtle truths he had learned through experience. He remembered Irina's gaze, the way it often lingered on admiration rather than connection, the way her love seemed tied to reflection, what she could receive, what she could gain, what the world could offer her through proximity to him. It was a love polished to perfection, dazzling to the eyes, intoxicating to the senses, yet hollow at the core, lacking the quiet, sustaining fire that burns unseen, unshakable, constant. And then there was Georgina, who had entered his life with neither grand promises nor dramatic flair, yet with a presence so profound that it reshaped his understanding of love itself. She did not wait. She did not demand. She simply existed, her love manifesting in the small, significant moments that defined their shared existence. The laughter she shared with his child, the gentle care with which she listened, the joy she found in seeing them happy. These were not gestures of performance, but of authenticity, a love that required nothing from the world yet gave everything to those she held dear. Ronaldo felt the weight of the decision pressing down like the heaviest of storms. He knew that following his heart toward Georgina meant stepping away from the allure, the security, the glamour that Irina represented. It meant choosing substance over spectacle, love over infatuation, family over fascination. It was not the easier path. It was not the one that guaranteed admiration from onlookers, but it was the path that aligned with his deepest truth, the one that reflected the man he wanted to be. Not just a superstar on the pitch, but a man capable of true, enduring love. In the quiet that followed, as the evening shadows lengthened and the world outside continued in oblivious motion, Ronaldo made his choice. It was not a decision made lightly, not a flick of the wrist or a surrender to impulse. It was a deliberate, soul-deep acknowledgement that love is measured not in desire alone, but in the capacity to give, to nurture, to endure. He turned away from Irina's shimmering allure, not out of malice, but out of clarity. He stepped toward Georgina, toward the love that had waited in quiet patience, the love that mirrored his own capacity for care, the love that promised not just passion, but partnership, not just infatuation, but family. The aftermath was subtle yet monumental. Irina's presence faded like a memory of sunlight on water, beautiful yet unreachable, leaving Ronaldo to navigate the profound peace that comes when one chooses the heart over the spectacle. Georgina's hand found his, warm and steady, and in that simple touch, he felt the weight of uncertainty lift, replaced by a sense of belonging that no fame, no fortune, no external validation could replicate. The choice had been made, but more than that, it had been felt, understood, and honored. In that moment, Ronaldo realized the ultimate truth of love, the kind of insight that only comes after trials and reflection. It is not enough to be adored, to be waited for, to be desired. True love requires resonance of spirit, alignment of heart, and a shared vision of life's intimate joys. Georgina embodied these truths in ways that Irina never could, and in choosing her, Ronaldo was not merely choosing a partner. He was choosing the life he had always longed for, the family he wished to protect, the love that could endure beyond the transient glare of the world's eyes. And so, as the night deepened and the world outside carried on unaware, Ronaldo embraced the clarity of his decision, a quiet triumph of heart over spectacle, of authenticity over allure. In choosing Georgina, he had discovered that love is not about waiting, not about appearances, not about what dazzles in the light. It is about the depth of connection, the constancy of care, and the courage to see beyond the surface to what truly matters. In that choice, he found not just love, but himself, reflected in the mirror of someone who cherished him not for what he could give, but for who he truly was. The days that followed Ronaldo's choice were not filled with fireworks or grand proclamations. There were no banners, no celebrations, no instant relief. Instead, there was the quiet, unassuming rhythm of life, the subtle, profound moments that would come to define what he had chosen, what he had committed to, and what he had found in Georgina. In the early mornings, as the soft light crept through the curtains, he watched her move around their home with ease, laughing at small, private jokes with his child, arranging breakfast in ways that reflected thoughtfulness rather than performance. It was in these quiet domestic scenes, simple yet imbued with intimacy, that Ronaldo realized something he had long suspected but never fully acknowledged. True love is found not in grand gestures or public admiration, but in the steady constancy of care, in the moments that pass unnoticed by the world yet are monumental in their meaning. Georgina had a way of making even ordinary days feel extraordinary. A walk in the park became a journey of shared joy as she pointed out small wonders. A bird perched on a branch, a flower just beginning to bloom, the laughter of children chasing each other across the grass. She observed life not through a lens of competition or status, but through the simple, profound appreciation of existence itself. Watching her, Ronaldo felt the tension of years spent in pursuit of accolades and validation begin to dissolve. In her presence, he discovered a peace that had eluded him even amid the roar of stadiums and the endless gaze of fans. Here was someone whose love did not demand spectacle. It demanded only honesty, only presence, only the willingness to share a heart fully. The transition from the past to this new chapter was not without its challenges. Irina, though distant now, had left traces, memories that lingered in quiet corners, reflections of moments that had once seemed monumental but were now reduced to lessons, to reminders of what he no longer sought. There were times when Ronaldo felt the pang of nostalgia, not for her, but for the version of himself that had been captivated by charm and beauty, the innocence of desire that had not yet understood the depth of love. Yet every time those memories surfaced, Georgina's influence, her presence, her unwavering care reminded him why he had made the choice he did. With her, he felt grounded, anchored, and for the first time in a long while wholly seen. Not as a superstar, not as a public figure, but as a man capable of being loved for his heart, for his life, for the quiet spaces he had long protected from the world. Ronaldo often marveled at the simplicity of her love. It did not announce itself in grand declarations or performative gestures. Instead, it was woven into the fabric of everyday life, in small acts that reflected thoughtfulness and a profound understanding of the people around her. She noticed when he needed rest, when his child needed guidance, when the family needed laughter. Her patience was remarkable, not the kind that waits passively, but the kind that actively nurtures, that participates in the creation of stability and warmth. And in giving her love so freely, she had transformed Ronaldo's understanding of connection. He began to see that the heart's true strength lies not in intensity alone, but in endurance, in the ability to care, to show up, and to invest wholly in others' joy without expecting immediate reward or recognition. There were evenings when the world outside seemed relentless, when obligations, expectations, and pressures collided with personal desires. Fame brought with it a constant parade of invitations, scrutiny, and demands that could overwhelm even the strongest of hearts. Yet in the quiet corners of their home, Ronaldo found refuge in Georgina's steady presence. She offered balance, perspective, and an unwavering sense of normalcy that no spotlight could provide. Her love was not performative, it was restorative. She reminded him that life's true victories are not measured in trophies, contracts, or applause, but in the depth of shared laughter, in the solace of mutual understanding, and in the warmth of those who choose to stand by you when the world feels heavy. Their bond deepened with each passing day, as small rituals of affection and care became the invisible scaffolding of a life built on mutual respect and devotion. Morning coffees were accompanied by genuine conversation rather than polite chatter. Bedtime routines with his child became shared adventures, rich in storytelling and imagination, where Georgina's gentle guidance turned everyday moments into lifelong memories. Weekends, once filled with the pressures of schedules and social obligations, were transformed into opportunities for connection, exploration, and the quiet cultivation of happiness. In each act, each gesture, Ronaldo saw the reflection of his own heart in hers, a love that sought not dominance, but harmony, not attention, but presence, not grandeur, but authenticity. Yet love, even at its most profound, is rarely without obstacles. There were whispers, murmurs, and assumptions from those who could not see the depth of their connection. Gossip and speculation followed them relentlessly, fueled by the world's fascination with celebrity drama. People questioned why he had chosen Georgina over Irina, why he had turned away from a love that had waited for him. Ronaldo, however, had learned to listen only to the quiet counsel of his heart. Irina had been a chapter, a reflection of desires that had not been aligned with his soul. Georgina was the present and the future, the living embodiment of the love he needed and the stability he longed for. And in the quiet resilience of their bond, they found the strength to ignore external noise, to focus on their family, and to nurture the love that was quietly, yet powerfully transformative. There were moments of vulnerability too. Ronaldo was human, after all. There were times when self-doubt crept in, when the weight of responsibility and fame threatened to overshadow the serenity they had cultivated. In those moments, Georgina's love became a sanctuary, her calm voice a lifeline. She reminded him that it was not weakness to feel, that strength was found in honesty, and that partnership was a dance of mutual support, not a competition of who could endure more. Her unwavering confidence in him, combined with her genuine joy in the smallest victories, became a source of motivation, inspiring him to be the man, the father, and the partner he knew he could be when nurtured by love that was sincere and selfless. As the seasons changed, their life together grew richer and more textured. Holidays, once marked by public appearances and ceremonial obligations, were transformed into private celebrations of family and love. Birthdays, anniversaries, and even ordinary weekdays were punctuated with the kind of shared joy that cannot be captured by cameras, documented by tabloids, or measured by the approval of others. In every shared meal, every story told at bedtime, every quiet evening spent together, Ronaldo discovered that happiness is not a spectacle. It is a series of intimate, repeated moments, chosen consciously and nurtured deliberately. Georgina had taught him that love, when rooted in authenticity and presence, is both unshakable and expansive, capable of encompassing all the trials, distractions, and challenges life throws its way. Their bond became a testament not only to romance but to the power of choice. Ronaldo had chosen Georgina, and in doing so had chosen a life aligned with truth, with integrity, and with heart. The decision had not been easy, but it had been right. And in living that choice daily, they built something that no public opinion, no past relationship, and no external distraction could ever diminish. A life centered on connection, love, and mutual respect. It was a love that transformed Ronaldo's understanding of success. Achievements on the field, wealth, and global recognition were meaningful, yes, but they paled in comparison to the fulfillment of being fully seen, fully cherished, and fully invested in a family that thrived on love, not spectacle. In retrospect, the lessons of the past were clear and undeniable. Irina had offered a reflection of desire, a love tied to surface-level charm, to waiting, to performance. Georgina offered something infinitely rarer and more enduring, a love that was steady, nurturing, and selfless. A love that celebrated the happiness of others as fiercely as it did its own. A love that taught Ronaldo that in choosing wisely, one finds not only a partner but a home for the heart. And as their life continued to unfold, Ronaldo felt a profound gratitude for the choice he had made, a quiet triumph of the heart that would resonate through every day, every moment, and every memory they built together. Even in the face of challenges, in the pressures of fame, and in the moments when past doubts threatened to resurface, their love remained a constant. Georgina's presence was a lighthouse in the storm, a reminder that authenticity, care, and selfless devotion are the foundations of lasting happiness. In choosing her, Ronaldo had not only found love, he had discovered a life worth cherishing, a family worth protecting, and a partnership that would endure far beyond the transient lights of the world's admiration. And so, as night fell and the world outside carried on in its usual rhythm, Ronaldo sat quietly, reflecting on the journey that had led him here. The lessons of waiting, of patience, of discerning the heart over the surface, had all culminated in a love that was deep, real, and transformative. Georgina's laughter echoed from the next room, and his child's playful voice joined hers, a symphony of connection, warmth, and joy. In that sound, in that moment, Ronaldo understood the truest essence of happiness. It is found not in who waits, not in who dazzles, not in who appears most alluring, but in who loves fully, selflessly, and with an authenticity that inspires the same in return. It was a life built on choice, on heart, and on the courage to see beyond appearances. And in that life, Ronaldo had found not just love, but a home for his heart, a sanctuary for his soul, and a future rich with promise, joy, and enduring connection.